Welcome everybody to a new episode of New Waylie, episode 6, where we are finally starting on a new area of the city. We finished the park in front of the train station and now it's time for some housing. Because yeah, we have the train station, the park, and it's technically functional, but really doesn't make much sense when you don't have people here yet. So at the very least, we need the people who are starting to build this city, overseeing the construction of the city. So I looked for a clearing around the base of the mountain here for the supervisor or overseer of the city construction, and I found a pretty wide one over there on the left, so I just started drawing a road out of there to who knows where. I don't really know exactly where that road's going yet, but just wanted to start it out. Now I needed a really fancy futuristic house that would fit, of course, the theme of the city, and I got really lucky and found one here on the workshop. So I decided to add this, which you see me subscribing to right away and plopping in the game, because at this time I had the Edificium mod, which is a mod that allows you to load things while the game is running. Now anyone will tell you that of course that's a bad idea, and I will agree, but I have used this for a long time without any problems. However, obviously in this city at least, something's conflicting and it's not working, and that's why you're seeing these error messages come up as I try to make even a single movement with Move It. I decided to tolerate it for just a little bit because I want to at least get just a general layout of this area first, and then we can do the precision editing later. I also added a few props here just to kind of get the color variation working. So again, so that after the next load I could start putting these in their place. So I just plopped those things down and then I restarted the game. I don't think I did anything else other than maybe some random little touch-ups or something, but the main thing I did was just added this little fence here, which is not going to be a fence. I chose to use it more like a gateway, so I guess it's like your security gate into this house. So it's really just going to be floating there without any real fence beside it. This is a futuristic house, but I wanted the backyard to be a lot more rustic, a lot more simple and natural. So I found this looks like a table with a bunch of little stone chairs around it. Actually I think it's a sculpture, but I thought it looked really good and really fitting for this backyard. Add a grill, add a garbage can, and then I just really wanted to finish this path. I think it's called the Zen Garden path, and it was gonna end right there where you saw it just transitions into this stone path, which is also on a network, and I managed to find the flowers that are in that garden, that are in that path, so that I can put it all around the perimeter here. It's really cool that this that stone path, by the way, is also a decal, because then I can use it to fill up those spaces, as you'll see pretty soon. Right now it's mainly just trying to get the right layout of the flowers, although I do touch this up. I do make iterations of this basically. So here I am working with the decals, as I said, and wanted to make this kind of a clearing where the grill is, but I didn't want to flatten the whole area because I actually wanted to follow the terrain here and show that we don't always want perfectly flat land. Now, along the same lines of lining things, pun actually not intended, I looked to using these flower bushes to line our property. So using the prop line tool here, this would be also kind of like our fence that will lead to our laser gate. Now here's a line of trees, which I wanted to divide the house and a garden area. So I wanted to also have something more intentionally designed, more manicured. So I put these planters in here for the trees, but I also want the same idea for the garden that I'm doing here. But first I wanted to put the bushes down. So I put these flower bushes, and I was really looking for just this covered area of flowers and just surround it with this curb, although I do decide to end up changing that a little bit. Here I'm using the curb network, but for the front, I don't really remember why actually, but I found that I needed to use an actual prop that I would edit with procedural objects to get the right length and the height, and maybe I wanted it to follow, that's probably it. I wanted to follow the terrain. Well, I could have done that as a network as well, so I'm not really sure what's going on here. For whatever reason, I'm using this curb piece and making sure that the ends are perfectly 90-degree cuts like that so that it fits in well. Yeah, this is why I said I actually didn't like the full cover look. It looked a bit too messy, and that's actually against what I said I was looking for this area. So it was better to just do a more spaced out, clean lines of flower bushes. So I expanded the spacing with prop line tool and make sure that when I drew the next line they were lined up. So you can tell that it's a very well planned garden. Now here I am returning to the backyard and finishing the borders of these flowers. Because I wanted to thicken up the area between the path and the backyard, so I have this dense patch of flowers. Although I soon decided I might actually be too much, taking up too much real estate. And again, it looks a bit too messy. So even if I do it, it just would look too messy doing it with these flowers. So I ended up removing the flowers at the top of our screen here, and if I was going to add more flora there, it would be different bushes, but not with the flowers. The flowers I thought would be better just right here in the lower part, just kind of make it an actual small flower patch, and I thought that would look a lot better. I soon even had the idea that I might add some lights in there in that little flower bush, so just something to spice it up a little bit, make it look a little more interesting. But for this part, like I said, I'll start experimenting with different kind of bushes or ferns or something. I'm pretty sure I ended up with bushes. Yeah, there we go. Actually, not those. I ended up going with kind of looks like a tall grass, like a very round sort of tall grass thing. But I'm showing my little process here, just my trying things out and the process of elimination. You know, was I going to do only one? Was I going to do like layers or rows of plants as I just considered there, like maybe the thick one first and then the small one? But I ended up with this one, this small yellow grassy kind of bush. I thought that looked a lot better. I also considered maybe adding some sort of decals, or if they were available, short grass props in that area, like in the clearing, just because for it still being a small area that requires you to zoom in to really get a good look at the area, you end up noticing that even though it might be a 4K texture, the ground textures aren't that great when you zoomed in this much. But I am, like I said, trying to follow the terrain here and not flattening anything, so trying to make any mess with decals or other grasses just wasn't going to work, so I ended up just leaving it as it is. What you saw me doing there, by the way, was I actually cleared out some of the flowers, those purple flowers that were in between what the area we're looking at here and the flower patch that we just had before, because the flowers make sense as an edge to the path, but that central area should be more open, much more relaxed. So it really didn't make sense to have that, so I didn't want the flowers lining any of those areas anymore. And then I opened the workshop, and for some reason, my game freezes just because of that. Really? I already had the officium off, so it wasn't that mod, even though I just talked about it. But that was it for that stream. And for this house, I must say, because I guess I got busy and I totally forgot that, especially when you're only thinking about these things once a week, in the sense I stream only on the weekdays, it's easy to forget that they don't stay very long on Twitch. So I definitely lost a few weeks of footage because I never downloaded them from Twitch. And so I lost everything about the completion of this house. But we can look at the pictures and I can talk over them a little bit. So I fixed the front of the house to have an actual roundabout. I think it's exactly as we saw it before, where it's just one road looped tightly enough so that there is no hole in the center. So I simply left it that way, and I used the planter and put a bush right there in the middle to have a little accent right there in the center. On the left, you can see that we have some rocks, and I love when this kind of stuff happens. It was out of necessity, but it was a great opportunity to add an extra accent here that I probably wouldn't have thought of before. There's a weird crack. The model of that road doesn't blend well. It doesn't morph well into the roundabout shape. So to cover that up, I have a little stone just on the road, on the edge of the road. And the explanation for that is that I do have a stack of rocks right beside it, so it kind of looks like that one little rock just fell off the stack. Now here's a more close-up view of the house. And the main changes we see is that I fixed the driveway that was only a randomly plopped decal the last time we saw it. I fixed that up, and also added this, I think it's called pavement driveway or something. That's the part to the left of that. I do think I changed that later though. I'm not really sure. Maybe we'll see in a future video. At the very least, I added a curb around it. I just made it just looked a lot nicer, especially because otherwise you'd have the curb, sorry, you'd have the decal just randomly ending, and then you have grass. So it didn't really look that good. The other really big change is that I changed some of the props in the house, because the bushes and hedges that had in it were of course vanilla, and they really looked ugly. And considering all the nicer floor we have around here, as you can see, also I already placed a lot of nicer trees around here and bushes. Those props just look completely out of place. So I used Prop It Up to get those removed, put my own in there, and really importantly is also that you know, where you see those like orange bars in the front, it's kind of like the sort of like the porch of the thing. In front of that, I put a planter there, but I covered up with a lot of low grass props. I don't remember exactly what they were, but it's, you can kind of tell it's a hairier, bushier kind of grass, and it looks really great. And remember I said that we'd be having some lights in the garden. Well, it's kind of covered up here, but you can see that there is some light behind the tree on the right there. There's, if you look closer to the house, there are blue and green glows, and those lights are in between the garden and the trees. I have a few more pictures, but the last thing I'll show here is that we also worked on the second house for who I assume would be the second in command or assistant supervisor or someone. Now I know this is a vanilla asset, but I really like how it looks, and I have the plan to mess with this somehow, like take a vanilla asset and modify it. I might just use procedural objects, for example, to add an extension to the house or something. But at the very least, I started off here with just adding props to it. And see at the very top there, at the top of the curved part of this, that is an elevator. I took a, I think it's, I forgot which one it is, glass elevator maybe it's what it's called. It's kind of, it's not the typical black elevator that a lot of people use. And I used that as an elevator on the top. So yeah, of course not. Why not? This house has an elevator to the roof. And the roof is detailed as well. Beyond that, it was just adding some props to the porch, some nice trees and benches, and there's even a bird cage. And to the right of the hover car there, the driveway I made there, that is a very wild, bushy area. And that took a lot of work, but actually looks really nice. If you want to look at any of this stuff later, please just come by the stream, and I definitely accept requests for tours of the city. But that's where we're going to have to leave it for today. So I don't really want to keep dragging this on with just talking about still pictures. So thank you very much for watching. Tune in next time where we start doing the thing you see there to the right of this house. What is that? It is an apartment complex, and it is the huge project that we are still working on today at the time of this video publishing. It is the next big project after the train station park. And it's been a lot of fun, and it's really cool, and it's starting to show the really actual futuristic aspects of this city. So please come by the stream if you want to see how that's going. Otherwise, tune in for the next episode where we'll be starting that apartment complex. So thank you very much for watching, and wherever you may be, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.